Oh.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 10th meeting of the Rotary Club of South Jacksonville. For our Zoom members, there you are. We're happy you can join us. Please remember to mute yourself and submit any questions or comments via chat, or unmute yourself and let us hear from you. Great to see so many with us today. I was telling Patty, I thought everybody would walk in wrapped in gauze and hand sanitizing like mad. That isn't happening. A little bit about that later. But for now, thanks to our greeter, who was not Bill, but Lynn Bauman. Right. Thank you. Yes.
I thought it was, I didn't realize it was.
We're a team.
Yes. Richard really needs to put down his script. Anyway, the pledge and prayer today will be given by Brendan Bledsoe.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for blessing us with the opportunity to gather today and break bread with each other. Please bless this meal for the nourishment of our bodies. We also thank you for the opportunity to glorify your name through service to our community. Please bless us and guide us through the rest of our week. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We're looking for Christy King, who will present our family time. She is
President Richard, I'm on Zoom.
And Christy, good afternoon.
Thank you. So we have a couple weeks to catch up on since I wasn't able to make last week, but Judge Tyree Boyer celebrated his birthday on August 2nd. Past President Robert Harris celebrated his birthday on August 9th. Parker Shields is celebrating his birthday today on August 10th. And Michelle Khalil will celebrate her birthday on, Judge Michelle Khalil will celebrate her birthday on August 13th. And for wedding anniversaries, Tom Signorello and his wife Hadley celebrated 8 years of marriage on August 3rd. Bill Trayer and his wife Ann did celebrate 31 years of marriage on August 3rd. And Ryan Maloney and his wife Amy celebrated 18 years of marriage on August 9th. That's it for the Family of Rotary update.
Very well, thank you so much. We have a craft talk today from Charlie Cofer. Charlie, are you with us today?
Well,
Welcome, Charlie.
hey. Well, I am with you and I ain't with you. Yeah, Harlan had asked me to do the craft talk today, and normally I would prefer to do it in person, but as some of y'all may know, I tested positive for last Wednesday, and so I am now quarantining at home. I thought Harlan was maybe going to get someone to substitute because I'm not sure the sound is really good enough to do a craft talk remotely, but I'll leave it up to y'all.
That's good. You're good. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, as many of y'all know, I was born and raised in Virginia. My dad was a Methodist minister, and so we moved about every 4 years to a new church and assignment. My mom was a high school chemistry teacher. I owe a lot in my life to them because they taught me about the benefits of serving others, both through dad's ministry and through mom's teaching. I attended undergraduate school at Duke and then law school at the University of Virginia. I met my wife, Emily, our senior year of high school. Her dad was a chaplain in the Air Force and was transferred to the Washington, D.C. area. He eventually became chief of chaplains. He was a Methodist minister also. Emily and I started dating our senior year, we went to the high school prom, and then we continued dating through college. We were married right after we graduated in 1974. And then I entered law school at Virginia that fall. Emily taught school in the Charlottesville area schools. She was a special education teacher. And the summer after my second year of law school, I was recruited down to Jacksonville to work for a law firm called Mahoney, Hadley and Adams, which at that time I think was the largest civil practice law firm in Jacksonville. I must have done something right that summer because the end of that summer, they brought me in and offered me a full-time job as an associate upon graduation. So I had the benefit of not having to go through recruiting my third year in school. Emily and I moved down here. One of the reasons I was attracted to Jacksonville was by at that point, Emily's dad had retired down to Melbourne, Florida. And so it provided us with an opportunity to be closer to her family and farther away from my family, which kind of suited us both. Yeah, it was a good decision on both our parts. I worked at Mahoney and Hadlow for about 2.5 years. I had always wanted to be a litigator. And by litigator, I mean getting into court and trying cases sort of litigator. At a large civil firm, that is sometimes not always the opportunity presented. You may be in the litigation department, but actually going in and trying cases is sometimes rare. So I left the office in January of 1980 to go work at the public defender's office. And you do get to litigate there. You get to try as many cases as you want. You sometimes have more cases to try than you really should. I spent 18.5 years at the public defender's office. The last 10 years focusing on capital cases. And I think I tried 27 homicide cases over that 10 years. I was fortunate enough in the summer of 1998 to obtain an appointment to the county court bench from the governor. Spent 17 years as a county judge here. About 1.5 years of that time I spent on the circuit court or felony court bench to cover for judges who had died or who were too ill to stay in their position. In the fall of 2015, I decided that the public defender's office needed a new direction. And so I resigned my position as a judge and ran for public defender and was elected in the November election in 2016. So here I am 4.5 years later. I've started my second term. I was fortunate enough not to draw a position, and I'm looking forward to completing this term and then maybe getting into my second retirement, but still keep my options open. Anyway, that's me.
Thank you for that, Charlie, and we wish you a very speedy recovery. Are there any announcements this afternoon?
Oh, Richard.
There are.
I saw Rick Mullins this last week for my semi-annual cleaning, and anyway, he wanted everybody to know he thanks everybody very much for the help in the mom's event over in the convention center and helping. He said previously he has all these dentists that show up, and then when the day's over, they all leave. So he's left there by himself to clean up. So he's there like all night cleaning up. So he thanks us very much for showing up. He was able to leave early.
Thank you. All right. Other announcements. I had a really big, long announcement for you about COVID today and precautions. And because we seem so relaxed, in the approach that we're taking right now. I'm not going to give it to you. It'll come out in book form in a few weeks. I will say that a cursory analysis of other clubs on DAC-DB says that 2 other clubs are observing some rigor in COVID precautions, and it's always on the table. So we'll see how things go. Let's relax for a few moments and enjoy our lunch.
I think Bill muted us, or are they all being quiet so they can hear what we talk about? Let's get Ed to start talking. Who's Pablo?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I think so.
Pablo is our speaker, and I wonder if we can maybe like bring him on because he's jammed in the ER and calling in to do the presentation on COVID.
Sure, I'll go let the president know right away. Thank you, Vicki
Thank you,
Lynn.
Patty.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry Caballero, you there?
I'll look across the duck pond, see if I see him.
Did you move up into your area? He used to live out pretty far away, I thought.
Yeah, he's on the duck pond here.
Oh, okay.
And you're looking at the pond to the right, I think. I'm not sure which house is Larry's.
Yeah.
Here we go. I think we're back.
Are we back? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm muted. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Some news for us this afternoon. Our guest speaker is due in the emergency room for something or other and would like to speak. It was a little bit early today. So we'll take the rest of what we have to do after we hear from our guest speaker and our introduction of guest speaker from Vicki Lynn Glover.
Thank you, President Richard. It is my pleasure to reintroduce to the club Dr. Pablo Pella. Dr. Pella was born in Miami but grew up in Panama, went to medical school in Panama, and then did his residency and fellowship in New York. He moved to Jacksonville and has been practicing infectious diseases for many years now. I won't say how many because that makes him sound older than he really looks and behaves. He founded Hope Across the Globe, which is a charitable organization that we've talked about in the past. But he is really, like every infectious disease physician and every critical care physician in Jacksonville, actually inundated right now with the wave of COVID. And we just all kind of relaxed, and now we're sort of paying the price for it. So mainly he's going to take a lot of questions, but he's going to give us an update on what's happening. He's at Memorial in the ER today, and then we'll be happy to answer lots of questions. So Dr. Pella, you are on. We need to unmute your phone.
How about now?
There,
Can
perfect.
you hear me now?
Thank
Perfect.
you.
So things have changed dramatic. I mean, the first time that I talked to the group of Rotary, it was February of 2020, and I haven't seen not even one case. All I knew about COVID was what I was reading in the medical news and CNN and Fox and what was happening in China. And then my first case, February 28 of 2020, here in Jacksonville. And since then, we're seeing, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people a week, easy. And, you know, a few months ago, we thought, oh, well, okay, well, people are getting vaccinated and people are wearing a mask and cases are going down, or our census was going down. And then surprise, since the weekend of July 4th, I mean, we are swamped. We have never had so many patients in the hospital ever. I've been doing this since 1993. In 28 years, our group of infectious diseases at the hospital level we never had so many patients. We are over 140 people right now, today, in the hospital. It's not 100% COVID, but pretty good chunk. I would say 80 to 85% are COVID patients. All ages, all sex, all sizes, all medical issues or non-medical issues. My youngest patient, very sick, is a 19-year-old girl. There is a 31-year-old kid that is in the ICU intubated, dying from COVID. I mean, it's unbelievable and unfortunate. 95% of these people are unvaccinated. I didn't want to be the first one in line when I had my vaccine, but I didn't want to be the last one either, because this is what happened. So my vaccine was given, I got my first shot December 18 of 2020. My second shot was somewhere around January 7 of 2021. My arm was sore. That was the only side effects that I had. And the only reason that I'm not sick in the ICU with COVID is because I have my vaccine. Even though it's true, I wear my mask and I avoid crowds and I wash my hands, but it's impossible to completely isolate yourself when you are actually going inside the patient's room with a patient with COVID. And you know how sometimes you're trying to get the gown off and the mask comes off and you're in this small room with poor ventilation. I've been exposed, but my vaccine is protecting me. And that's what I'm urging everybody, regardless, get the vaccine. It's safe, it's protecting. And my gut feeling is that we're gonna be, eventually, I'm gonna need a booster shot probably sooner than later because of the new variants that are showing up. This Delta variant is bad news. For the first time, a few weeks ago, I saw somebody coming with COVID ×2. Had it last year, survived, did fine, had it again this July, sick in the ICU in the hospital. For the first time, I had a patient that I had 4 patients coming in on one day, all vaccinated. One with J&J, very sick lady. She had it in the vaccine and now came in with that COVID. A couple of people with the Moderna, a couple of people with the strain is affecting people even though they're being vaccinated. Again, this is not a joke. This is a bad disease. And today, I'm seeing a person in the emergency room with COVID just now that is being unvaccinated. 74-year-old lady hasn't been vaccinated and recommended. I understand that it's true. The vaccines are not FDA approved yet, but they will be. At least the Pfizer will be approved by the FDA soon. I mean, we already more than 300 million people in this country have received at least one dose of these vaccines, J&J, Moderna, or Pfizer. Vaccines are safe, minimal side effects. It's either the risk of a side effect from a vaccine versus catching COVID and being in the ICU. We have so many people that have, it's a reality, and it's and I'm unfortunate. My kids are going to school tomorrow, and my kids are younger than 12. Two of them, and they're gonna be having to wear a mask, regardless of what anybody says. They're gonna have to wear a mask, and they know they have to wear a mask in class starting tomorrow. Because we did great last year. They went to school last year through the whole school year. Nobody got sick in the school. I mean, there were some kids and some administrators, but nobody got really sick from it. And but now we have a different strain.
Dr. Pella, there's a lot of chatter about there's a lot of chatter about people who've already had the
hopefully they get approval younger than
COVID. Sorry, can you address people who have already tested positive, they recovered, and what's the thinking on them having to have a vaccine?
Right. So in the past, we always say, well, if you already have the natural infection, you got the infection and your body respond to it, so you should be protected. What changed is this new strain. this new variant, the Delta variant, and then the new one, the other ones, the Gamma and the Lambda that are heading our way, are breaking through that's what that breakthrough is. It's breaking through the natural immunity from the natural infection. So that's why it's recommended, despite having COVID, it's recommended to get the vaccine to boost your immune system to avoid getting sick for the second time around with a new strain, especially because the vaccines are safe. So even if the person has COVID, I'm recommending everybody go ahead and get the vaccine.
Some of the people that we've seen, I know in your clinic and even who work with you, had COVID, had a vaccine, and they're still coming up positive. What do you think about that? And what's the current thought on that?
Well, people, even if you have the vaccine, you can still get infected, breakthrough, much milder. I can tell you my personal experience. I haven't seen any vaccinated person sick with COVID in the ICU. I've seen vaccinated people admitted to hospital, staying in the hospital for a couple of days, not in the ICU, not on a life support. So that's where the vaccine comes in handy, where it prevents you from getting severe form of COVID. Now you can even though you've been vaccinated, you can carry this recommendation now that we should all. Sorry, this is why that's the recommendation. And even though vaccinated people should wear a mask, and especially if they're around people who are unvaccinated, we need to keep the distancing and washing our hands and keep precaution. We cannot get our guards down. And unfortunately, this is not a bug that is going to go away. It doesn't look like it, at least for some time. And people are anxious to travel, and people are going to be traveling. And we live in Florida, and a lot of people come to Orlando and Miami and Atlanta, and then they're just going to be heading our way too. So we should be protected. We should be vaccinated. We should be cautious. We should be wearing a mask. We need to be careful with the kids, especially the children younger than 12 that are not vaccinated yet, because yes, it's a real thing.
I understand that all the ICUs are absolutely full. So what are you doing in the hospitals when there's no ICU beds for the really sick patients?
I mean, they're opening, the recovery room. So that's why they actually holding off. Some of the hospital chains or programs are holding elective surgeries, especially if that patient is expected to spend the night overnight, so they can have more beds available. Right now, we have patients sleeping in chairs in the waiting room today. We have people in the emergency room, spending the night overnight in a chair, waiting to be admitted, waiting for a bed. So the emergency room are full of people. ICU is full of people, hospital is full of people, and this is not, this is citywide. I talked to my friends at Mayo, I talked to my friends at Baptist, I talked to my friends at St. Vincent's. It's everywhere. Orange.
Are they running out of ventilators?
Park everywhere, and staff. Staff is the nurses' staff is overwhelmed and tired. Doctors are tired and overwhelmed. My partner this weekend was doing rounds at 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. Went home, spent a few hours, came back at 10:30 in the morning, asked me to come by and help because they were overwhelmed with consults. So I have to, on my day off on Sunday, I have to come back. It's a real thing. This is what we're seeing now. It reminds me of my internship in the Bronx, New York in 1988 with the AIDS pandemic, where we were overwhelmed with patients with HIV/AIDS. This is totally different, but it's not good.
I've been reading questions that people are sending me, but I know that Dr. Pay is really open to have questions from the team just to ask.
Are there any questions? Yeah, Bill.
Yes, I would like, Johnny,
Let's see if we can turn around on you.
I'd like to know your opinion on the vaccinations for younger people, especially those under 20. Some of the universities now, I've got a granddaughter where the university has mandated they all have to get vaccinations. And I've read a lot of information on heart damage that's occurring in young people that are getting these vaccinations. And I'd just like to know your opinion on that.
Right. One of the concerns that some people after receiving the vaccine develop this inflammation of the heart called myocarditis, but it seems to be transient and it seems to be mild, meaning that yes, they get palpitations, they get shortness of breath, they get a little bit of chest discomfort, but not enough to put you in the ICU or put you in a hospital. And it's usually something that is self-limited. It is a known side effect from these vaccines. But again, if you're gonna be in the dorms, you're gonna be in the cafeterias, you're gonna be in class, and there's gonna be 20, 30 other people there, and you don't know who's vaccinated or who's not, and who's carrying it or who's not, and who's spreading and who's not. Vaccines versus catching COVID is still the risk is everything that we do in medicine, probably in life, it's risk and benefit. And it's more risky to catch COVID than to have a side effect from the vaccine. So recommended to get the vaccine.
In her chart, but we have to verify it. That's all. Okay.
Are there other questions? Go ahead.
On the radio program 2 days ago, I heard about a Lambda variant in the country of Peru. Assuming that will travel, what do we do about not only the Lambda variant, but others that come along? How do you get yourself protected? Will it still be a basic vaccine like Pfizer's, or will there be other things that will continue to evolve?
Right. Right, and it's a good question, because when the Pfizer and the Moderna people came out and say, "Oh, this is our mRNA vaccines, and they're easy to tweak, and we can adjust the vaccine depending on how many mutations or how many variants come in." Well, that's what they said, but that's what is happening, because they haven't modified the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine for these new variants to make them more effective. In theory, they're supposed to be working on that. For now, our best strategy is avoid crowds, wear a mask, wash your hands, and get vaccinated with the current vaccine. But right, for the new strains that are heading our way, the companies are supposed to be developing new, better forms of the vaccine. How soon are they going to be hitting the market? How soon are they going to be available for us? It's still is an unknown. But it is. I mean, that Lambda variant coming from Peru is wiping out people that already had the vaccine and already had the infection. Same thing with the Gamma coming from Brazil. So it is concern. It's a concern. It's a problem. And then are we gonna block is the administration gonna stop traveling and international travel? Are we gonna open the borders or close the borders? Nobody wants to hear lockdown. So yeah, no, I mean it's how you, and the problem, by the way, is this variants that you see the report. We as a doctor in the clinical practice, we don't get that test results. The lab runs the test, the lab reports to the health department and the CDC, and then the CDC just pick and choose whatever sample they want and then test it to see if it is a new strain or a new variant. We don't get that test result. We assume that over 90% of the people now getting infected is the Delta variant, because that's what the CDC is reporting, but we don't get that test result. So let's say you get COVID tomorrow and they run the test and it's positive, your doctor or you will not get that result. Say, oh, you got the lambda. We don't get that test. At least not yet. We don't get those results. All we do is the test that we get is a positive. You get COVID. But it is a problem, and the problem is that the more people, and we know this by prior experience with other viruses, the more the virus replicates, the more the virus causes infection in people, the more chances that new strains show up. We know that from the HIV experience. The longer the people have HIV infection with a high viral loads, the more chances that the virus mutates and causes more resistance to the HIV medication. So that's the same thing that is happening. When people come back with positive for COVID, and they call the doctor, usually the recommendation is, okay, stay home, drink plenty of fluids, take some Tylenol and rest. Well, actually, there is a treatment for COVID that is widely available, most in the outpatient hospital setting, that works. You got 10 days to use the medication. It's an IV infusion and it's being underutilized, by the way. And that's why I want to talk about this, so people need to be aware. If you are 65 years and older and you get COVID, automatic, if you want to, you can get this infusion at an outpatient setting. Mayo is doing it, Memorial is doing it, St. Vincent's doing it, Baptist is doing it. It's a monoclonal antibody. It's made by Regeneron, and it works. It makes the symptoms, the fever, the chills, the cough, the phlegm, the chest congestion, the shortness of breath, everything usually gets better within 24, 48 hours. It's a 1-hour infusion. It's done as an outpatient, and it's widely available. All you have to do is just need to get a doctor to order it. So it's the primary care or the emergency room physician or an acute care facility, wherever you get tested. And this works. If you are younger than 65, but you have conditions like diabetes, COPD, hypertension, congestive heart failure, dialysis, chronic kidney disease, transplant, chemotherapy, chronic steroids, anything that lowers the immune system, then you will qualify for this infusion too. And it's been underused because nobody knows about it. Doctors don't know about it, and the community don't know about it. And it works. This is the monoclonal antibodies that Dr. Fauci has been talking about for the last several months. And it's widely available, and it's effective and it's safe. Right now, actually, I moved out of the ER because it's Wi-Fi was lousy, and I'm here in the infusion center. They're infusing 7 people right now with this monoclonal antibodies for COVID. So I want you to know that is available. I'm sure that it's available at any of the hospital settings.
Have you time for one more question?
Sure.
Yes, Pinka.
Doctor, we used to hear when this COVID first started up about herd immunity with all the variants. Is that still a valid theory?
Right, I think it is. It's we need to reach that 85% of people either getting vaccinated or getting immune by natural infection, so we can eventually get there. And that will be the best thing. I like to be busy, but I don't like to be this busy. So that's the goal. The goal is that if we can reach 85% of immunity either through vaccine or natural infection, we'll be getting there. But I was going over the numbers with a good friend of mine the other day. It's half of the population in the state has not been vaccinated, right? So I don't know, that leaves like 7-8 million people. And then out of those 7-8 million people, let's say they're all younger people, so they don't get really sick. You still got about 4 million people are totally susceptible of catching this thing, of getting infected. And even though you get 20,000 infections every day, let's say, just by putting a number, how long is it going to take to reach 4 or 5 million? I mean, how long are we going to be dealing with this thing? Another 100 days, 200 days, a year? That's why I think the vaccine And then plus the natural infection, eventually we'll get into the herd immunity, and then there will be the virus will not have any receptor, any susceptible person, so it eventually will die down. We see this every year with the flu vaccine. Very interesting, by the way. No flu this past winter. I think we had 2 cases, and we test everybody with COVID symptoms. We tested for the flu. I think we had 2 people that came back positive. But by the way, I'm predicting. I mean, prediction is very hard, especially when it's about the future. But this flu season may not be a good one, and I'm telling everybody to get vaccine, get the flu shot come October, because last thing we need is another virus coming and wiping us out. But we see it every year when the people get the flu vaccine, and a lot of people get the flu, then eventually the epidemic goes away until the next season where there's a new strain. Hopefully, we'll see how COVID behaves. It looks like, we all suspected that it's going to behave like the flu, where this is going to be like a yearly vaccine and a yearly cases, but time will tell.
Very well. Dr. Pella, I would like to thank you for your precious time this afternoon and your expertise.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed hearing from you. We will make a small donation to the Rotary Foundation for Polio Plus in your name as a gesture of our appreciation. And we send you our best as you continue to work through this.
Thank you.
And a couple of things that we need to pick up before we call it a day. It is my privilege to introduce you Michelle Kindy, who will introduce visitors and guests. Michelle.
Hey there. As you can see, I am also on Zoom today. I'm not COVID positive. I'm avoiding it like, what do we used to say? The plague. The sad part of not being there is that I'm not able to see who's in the room and who signed in with a guest. I have checked in with everyone on Zoom. I have no guests on Zoom, but is there anybody in the room who has brought a guest that would be willing to share their introductions with us? Hearing none, I think I'm done.
Very well, except for one thing, the Rotary song.
Oh, right. Okay, Mike, go ahead and sing.
Well played. Okay, here we go. I'll choose a note. We here in Rotary welcome you today. Glad you came our way. And the fellowship is good, sunshine or in rain. We here in Rotary say welcome, come again. Next week, our speaker will be District Governor Rich Cooper. And as we end our meeting, please join me in the Rotary motto, service above self, one profit those who serve best.